Hey there, I'm Lucy Colonen, and I want to welcome you to the Chosen Voices podcast. It's the show where women make waves using their voices. Women like you and like me. We're moms, leaders, students, entrepreneurs, and even those of us that are wearing several different hats. So stick around and learn what it really means to use your voice to make waves in this world. Chosen! What is up, ladies? Welcome. This is episode number 7. For those of you who don't know me, I am Pastor Lucy Colonen here at Crossover Church. I'm a life coach, author, speaker, and your host for today, episode 7 of Chosen Voices. And it's so good to be back with you, ladies. As a matter of fact, I have a guest with us today, and I'm so excited for you to hear from her and her story and her voice. And this is...
Hi, my name is Zaria. A lot of people say Zaria sometimes or Zaria, but you have to say it like you have a New York accent. It's like me. Zaria. Or yep. We can call you? Z. It's easier.
Awesome. That's what I'm going to be calling you, Z. Because I found out I was mispronouncing it this whole time. But anyways, you're going to get to hear from her. I'm so excited. And listen, I'm excited. I'm excited because not only do I know that this is going to be powerful and so good, but just excited to be back. I actually had to press the reset button. And how many of you ladies out there, sometimes you have to press, right? Reset. You kind of pause or you stop. And for me, it was like beginning of December till the end of February. It was like a whirlwind. It was non-stop. And the only thing that I could do to make it stop was to stop. I literally had to stop. So I took a couple of days off to kind of reset, refocus, to be able to restart over. And that's where I'm at today. That's where I'm at. And it's such a good feeling when you can finally see a little bit more clearly ahead. Because I think sometimes when you're just like so busy and you're like in this whirlwind of, just so many things to do, responsibilities, right? People who need your help and just a lot of different things, you don't always see clearly up ahead, right? Yeah. So it's just to have that focus once again. Love it, having that freedom. And I know like, life is going to get busy, but you know what? This is not about me. I'm not here to give you a sob story or complain either. But I know that happens to you. I know that it happens to all of us. So, a reset is not a bad thing. And we're going to be able to hear from Z's reset as well in just a few minutes. So, but before we do, I want to make sure that you guys are liking this, subscribe to this, maybe tag somebody right now who needs to hear this, who needs to be here as well. Make sure that you're following us on social media at Chosen813. All right. So we're going to get started. And I have a couple of fun, quick questions to ask you. I love doing this part because it's a way of the ladies getting to know you.
Sure. And
things that you like and so forth. And so my first question for you, Z, is going to be, if you could pick one vacation destination, where would you go and why?
Vacation destination. I would go to Greece.
Greece? Mm-hmm. Why Greece?
My family, most of my family is actually from Greece. My grandfather is 100% Greek. He lives in Athens. And I remember back when I was like 17, one time he came to visit the States and offered to take me there to pay for everything. And I think it was my junior summer. And I was like, no, I just want to hang out with my friends. But he was like, oh, you'll meet all your family. And at 17, you're not really thinking about that kind of thing. And right. I just wanted to do my own thing. But now looking back on it, that would be like the very next place that I would go if I could go somewhere.
My husband is part Greek. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, that's amazing. I love that. So do you love or enjoy Greek food? Do you eat it?
I definitely do. I eat kind of all food, mm-hmm. but I've never been exposed to the Greek culture that much, so mm-hmm. I don't truly know a lot about it, but everything that I have been exposed to, I've enjoyed.
That you like. Okay, all right. So if you woke up tomorrow as an animal, which animal would you be and why?
An animal. So I'm a cat lover. I'm definitely a cat lover, and I feel like just being a general house cat just seems like the perfect place for me. I want to be able to relax.
You just sleep
I just want to hang out, sleep, play with some feathers and some strings sometimes, and just get all the pets.
It's real
and
chill,
lovin's.
right?
Yeah,
real chill. Do you have cats right now?
I do. I have one.
You have one cat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I see. Cat. Feline cat. Nice and chill. All right. So we're going to talk about food again.
Okay.
So your top 5 favorite foods to eat.
Top 5. That's a good one, because usually only people give you one, and it's like, how can you choose
There's
only
too many
one favorite
options.
food?
Right.
That's crazy. I don't know if I could do 5 though. Let's see. Sushi.
Okay.
100% my favorite, and I'm like the raw sushi kind of person.
Okay, gross. Gross. We were friends. No, I'm kidding.
I actually made sushi the other night at home, and I went to the seafood market and bought some like raw salmon. And as I was cutting it up to put it in the sushi, I was just eating the salmon. Kind of like, when you cut up a watermelon, you eat pieces of the watermelon.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm like, my stomach's like, no. But you're brave.
Yeah,
you're
right,
brave.
right. I like pizza, very, very generic. I like lasagna. I'm Italian, so I like a lot of lasagna, or a lot of Italian food, I guess. 5 foods. Steak. 100% medium rare. It's got to be really juicy. I like I like juicy steak. And 5 is like potatoes. I'm a weirdo. Like, I love anything potato related. Mashed potatoes, French fries, home fries.
There's so many different ways you can prepare it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So listen, I need to like get back into the groove here, because with the whole salmon and the rare steak thing, like, yeah. I can't even see pink.
Yeah.
So when we go to the restaurant, that's probably the only time that you might hear me or see me complain, is if I ask for well done, and if I see any pink whatsoever, it has to go back. And I hate being that way, but I just can't. So I just let them know I want well done, and they're like, well, if I give you well done, it's going to dry up. Well done.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well done. I got to take it that way. So you are brave. You are brave to be able to do that. I can't. But anyways, I want the ladies to be able to hear your story. So a couple of weeks ago, I had invited you to be a part of this podcast. And I want the ladies to hear your story. And when we sat down and we talked, I got to hear more about your, story. And again, ladies, I think this is so important when we take the time out to hear each other's stories. And it doesn't have to be our whole, history, but even bits and pieces of it. Because I do believe that you'll be encouraged. You realize that you're not the only one, that you're not alone, in your struggles, or you see someone and you don't realize what they've been through. You don't realize the reason why they're smiling so big, or the reason why they're here today, and why they're doing the things that they're doing. So I'm real excited. I got to hear bits and pieces of it, but for them to hear it as well. So when we sat down and talked, for me, it was just like confirmation, like they definitely like need to hear, your story. So I want you to just go ahead and share, like, just who you are, some of the things that you do, maybe even how long you've been here at Crossover. Just share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So currently I am a payroll administrator at a car dealership. I am a very big numbers person. So doing that for a while, I actually learned my passion in Excel, and I started a side business. So I'm a part-time entrepreneur.
So like spreadsheets and things like that? Okay.
Yep. And so I do a lot of like organizing and number-based things. But really, I feel like when you ask me what I do, I feel like I want to say that I'm a worshiper, because that's like one of my favorite things to do. When I'm not working and earning a paycheck, what I do is worship God. Yeah. So that is kind of my place at Crossover. I serve on the worship team, and it's something that I've really enjoyed and been doing for a while. It's a really funny story. So I've been going to Crossover for 3 years, but when I found Crossover, I had just left another church, just wanted something different. And I was on the worship team for 2 years. So I was like, it's not that I didn't want to do it anymore, but I was tired. I've been doing it a while, and I wanted to take a break. But when I got to the church, at the end of the service, the pastor was like, hey, introduce yourself to someone that you might not know and have a conversation. So I was feeling very bold that day and said hello to the lady that was sitting next to me. And she told me, she's like, oh my gosh, hey, this is my very first time coming to Crossover Church. And I noticed that they have this like VIP thing. Do you know how that works? And I was like, oh yeah, I think you go out to the center of the lobby and they can give you a gift bag. And so she asked me how long I'd been at Crossover. And I was like, actually, today's my very first day. And she's like, wow, I wouldn't have guessed that. Like, this seems like your home church. And I feel like it kind of like really settled in. I didn't even realize that I was already like leading her. And so we went out to the table together and got a bag. And the lady that was handing out the bags, she looked at me and she said, God told me that you're supposed to sing on the worship team.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess this is the church for me.
Yeah.
So I ended up sticking around and I love it. Yeah, I've been here 3 years.
3 years. Okay. So you talked about being a worshiper. I know that you're on the worship team. So for you, what does worship look like? So describe to them what that looks like.
Wow. I feel like worship it's like a whole lifestyle. I feel like a lot of people look at it like it's just you sing or
right.
you stand in the church on Sunday and you lift your hands up and that's how I worship God. But I feel like talking to him every day or reading his word and listening to worship music, I feel like kind of all of it is comprised of being a worshiper.
Right. I love that. Also, when we sat down and we talked about your story, you shared with me some of the things that had happened in your childhood. So some of the things that were difficult, some things that were challenging. Again, things that I had no idea until I actually sat down with you. Yeah. Do you mind sharing some of that with the ladies?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been through a lot. Obviously, a lot of people have been through a lot. I'm just going to pick out, I guess, a few things that I've been through. And
what you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Don't feel forced. Whatever God leads you to share, put it that way.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like you need a little bit of context to kind of understand. I was in foster care for 2 years. So my mom and my dad separated when I was 2 weeks old. And when I was 2 years old, my mom met my stepdad. And he was basically my dad. I didn't really know my real dad, so I always call my stepdad my dad. So when you hear me say my dad, I'm talking about my stepdad. But so my mom and my dad had my brother when I was 6. And when I was 8, they ended up getting a divorce. When that happened, I was 8, my brother was 2. We would have visitation. There was, a visitation agreement or custody agreement in the divorce. So we would spend 4 days at my dad's house, 4 days at my mom's house, back and forth, and then holidays we would switch on and off. And when I was about 10, so about 2 years into this custody arrangement, one day me and my brother were hanging out. We were with my mom, and we were jumping around on the bed, being kids. I was 10, he was 4. We were just having a good time and making a lot of noise. My mom was on the phone on an important phone call. I don't know what she was talking about. I wasn't really paying attention, but she got frustrated, and she threw her phone across the room. And it changed the atmosphere in the room, right? But immediately I got scared, and I flinched. And when I flinched, I elbowed my brother in the face. My mom called my dad to let him know everything that had happened. And my dad almost saw this as an opportunity to gain full custody of my brother. So he ended up calling the police, filing a police report. He came and picked up my brother, and my mom and I ended up going to jail. We went to the police station, and I had to sit in a waiting room for a while until they could figure out
that must have been so
to
scary.
do with me. Honestly, it felt like days, and I had no clue what was going on. I didn't know anyone around me. I didn't know where my mom was. And I just had to sit there and wait until someone could tell me what I was allowed to do next. And so the chief of police was actually a good friend of, his wife was a good friend of my mom. So they had a relationship, and he told my mom, he's like, don't worry, I'll take care of your daughter. We'll go ahead and just take her to our house, and we'll let her stay with us until we can figure out what we're going to do with the foster situation. So I went and spent the night with them. And then one night turned into a week and 2 weeks. And eventually I gained a relationship with the family and just ended up staying with them. So it was about a year and a half's time where I stayed with them.
During that time, did you see your brother?
So there was like visitation that we were able to go through. I'm honestly not really sure about the details about my brother because I was young, so I don't know what was happening on the back end. But we had visitation rights with my mom for 1 hour every single week. And during that time was the only time I got to see my brother as well. Okay. And I don't think it was because we weren't allowed to see each other, but I don't know if their schedules just didn't line up or they didn't make the effort to get us together. But so in that time, for that year and a half, the only time that I could see my mom and my brother, my only family, was 1 hour once a week. And it was really hard. And I mean, as a 10-year-old, you're old enough at that point to understand, like, this is not normal. Right. This is a strange situation.
That was a huge disruption that took place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they always had a supervisor. So it was supervised visits. A lady would sit in the corner of the room with a little clipboard, and she would take notes while we sat and played, and, you know, did puzzles, and they had toys and stuff, and we'd read books together. And after a while, it turned into unsupervised visits. So they trusted that my mom was fit enough that they didn't have to be watching us all the time. And when that happened, my mom was able to have like an open and honest conversation with me that, you know, generally wasn't being monitored. And she told me that they were having court dates every so often to revisit the idea of me returning home with my mom. And my foster parents were going to those court dates and telling the courts that I was terrified of my mom.
Wow.
And that she was abusive. And I was just afraid to speak up about it. And when my mom told me that, I was like, but like I talk about.
So it wasn't true,
right,
what they were reporting.
I talk about how much I love you all the time and I want to be with you, but they're telling you guys, well, maybe I didn't explain it good enough. Like maybe they just don't understand how much I love you and I want to be with you. And so I went home and I had a conversation with them, and they're like, no, we understand. We're doing everything we can to help you get back with your mom. And so I feel like in that moment, I realized like, wow, like I can't speak up for myself. I have no say. There's nothing that I can do.
Right.
And I'm stuck in this situation until somebody tells me that I can move.
Right.
And my mom actually did tell me that at the age of 12 in the state of New Jersey, you were able to speak in a court in front of a judge. So right after I turned 12, the very next court date, I went to court with them and I told them how much I love my mom and I wanted to be with her.
So you used your voice.
And I did. Yes. And it was amazing. And I was able to go out and be with her. And so I moved in with her and was able to kind of recultivate that relationship that we had together.
Yeah. I bet that was such a powerful moment for you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like to realize that there's power in using your voice. And you had other people speaking for you. You had other people that were, you know, basically not allowing you to use your own voice to share your heart. And really that was, I want to be with my mom and I love my mom. So what a powerful moment, you know, but I'm sure that you were also, it can be scary because I'm imagining there's other people in the courtroom while this is taking place. And so it could be pretty intimidating. So you pushed through that. You're courageous and powerful at the same time by using your voice. So go ahead. What else happened?
Well, to the fact of being in the courtroom with a bunch of people, I don't really remember much about it. I was really young, but I do remember. I remember thinking that when I went in there, I saw all these strange people and that I should be afraid to like say something, but I felt like excited. It was like a joyful moment. I wasn't nervous at all. Like I was ready to tell them how I felt, and I wanted people to know my true voice instead of just hearing what everyone else had to speak for me. So that was really cool. So kind of a separate topic, but the same concept. Just recently, I was in a relationship with a guy. I kind of met him right before I started coming to the church, and I wasn't really cultivating my relationship with God at that time. But when I started coming to Crossover, I was like on fire, and I was like praying all the time, coming to church all the time, and I could really feel God like changing my heart and changing me, and helping me to be on the more righteous path. And I was noticing the relationship that I was in wasn't lining up with God's word. And the life I was living because of that relationship was really not the life that I wanted to live. But I struggled for so long trying to make the decision to separate myself from him, because I was like, well, I made this decision and I put myself here, and now I have to deal with the decision that I've made and the consequences that come along with that. But it really started like eating me up. I felt like I was, I don't know, just wasn't the person that I was supposed to be. And I started going to therapy because I just felt like, God, I can't deal with all these thoughts in my head by myself, and I need someone's help to be able to figure out where to go next. And it was like about 8 months of going to therapy, and I already knew what I was supposed to do, but understanding where I was at and why I was there allowed me to like be able to make the decision to do what I truly wanted. And so after, and like I said, like a 3 years time of that whole process, I finally had the strength to say, you know what, this isn't what I want to be. And I have the ability to make that decision. Like, yes, I put myself in a place, but honestly at the time, I wasn't knowledgeable enough in what I wanted and who I was to know that it was a bad decision. So it's like I was almost punishing myself for making a decision that I couldn't have made any better because I didn't have the right information to do so. And so I moved out into my own place because we were living together. And I was like, okay, this is the first step. I'm going to move out. And maybe it will work and maybe it won't. But I know that by me being obedient and putting myself in the right place, that everything else is going to fall into place and be where it's supposed to be. So moved out. And within 2 months, I was like, okay, this definitely is not working. So we broke up. But I realized after I moved out that I couldn't afford my car payment anymore. So I had to sell my car. And then like stuff was changing at my job. And I really feel like everything was just shifting because of this one decision. And it was a good shift, but it was a stretching shift. It was definitely not something I was excited about. I will tell you that much. But at the same time, I was excited about it because I could see, you know, what God was doing in the background. But the really that pivotal moment was when I realized, I'm like, this is what I want to do, and I know I want to do it, so I just need to do it. I need to stand up for myself and just do what I want to do, because I'm not living life for the people around me. I'm living my life for me. No one else around me is going to be affected by my decisions. Their end goal is not going to be determined by the decisions I make, but only mine. So I wanted to make sure that I was speaking up for myself again and putting myself on the path I wanted to be on.
Yeah. So this is what I hear and what I heard you say was that you were growing in your relationship with God, right? And you were going in one direction. As you're getting closer to God, you're realizing that the relationship that you're in, it's not moving in the same direction, right? It's not moving in the same direction. And so you made a decision, and that decision was I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to do it God's way.
Yep.
Right? And in doing that, one decision, obviously, then, you know, that affects other, you know, decisions that you had to make regarding your finances, car, and all that. But you did it because you said yes to God. So God became first in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Even if that was other people that you loved and, you know, cared about. And for me, that really stands out because I know that there's other women on the other side of this screen, and you might be in a relationship right now, and you're probably either settling in a relationship or you are ignoring the warning signs. You are ignoring that God is telling you no to this because he has something better. But like you said, he sometimes shifts us. And in that process of shifting, it's not easy. It's uncomfortable. There's a stretching that takes place. And let me tell you, sometimes that stretching, you're like, no, no more, right? No more. But then like once you kind of get like remolded back to who you're supposed to be, you're a better person because of it. Oh, yeah. Right? And like you're in a much different place mentally, spiritually, like all of it right now because of this decision that I'm going to say yes to God and God's going to be first in my life. So I just want to encourage you right now. If you're out there, your yes to God matters, and it's even more important than any other relationship or decision that you make. And when you say yes to God, God always shows up. And so I'm curious, Z. So I know for you right now, you're able to kind of, look back and I know you're only sharing, bits and pieces to your story. But as you look back, right, like in hindsight, what do you believe that God was teaching you or trying to show you? And this is just, your whole history. But what do you think, like, what is God's message for you? Like, because everything that we go through is for a reason, right? Yeah. God doesn't waste our pain. He doesn't waste our, tears. Everything that we go through, good and bad, is for a reason. So what do you believe God's message to you is based on everything that you've been through?
Right. I really feel like a lot of the stuff that I've been through has just been things to help me realize that I shouldn't be ashamed to be who I am. Because sometimes I feel like in those situations where I wasn't able to speak up for myself, I felt like it was because who I was not allowed. Like it wasn't okay. I wasn't the right person. I wasn't acceptable. Like I've had a lot of parents in and out of my life, and like my dad left, my stepdad left, and I just felt for a long time that I wasn't capable of being loved because there was something wrong with me, with my character, with who I was. So I felt like I was always hiding behind and not using my voice because I felt like it wasn't important, or that it just didn't need to be heard. And I feel like when I started realizing the excitement and the passion that I had and the ability to actually be able to use my voice, I was like, no, that's a lie from the devil.
Right.
Like, absolutely not. Because I realized that in being able to use my voice, I felt so much stronger and more empowered, and my life is like unfolding in this beautiful way. And so I feel like my entire life has just been a love story to me by God, just telling me to be okay with being myself and stand up for myself and be true to who I am.
I love that. I love that. I love where you're at right now. And I also know, and this is, this part is also very key. This is one of the reasons why I invited you to be on here. And I think I shared this with you as well, was I know that you're on stage and I see you worshiping, right? You're part of the, remix team, and I've seen you up there. But to know this part of your story was what made the impact, because I know that other people would have had a different reaction or response to your waiting season right now. And so you're waiting for a miracle and you're waiting for a breakthrough. Can you let them know what's this waiting season? What is it that you're waiting for?
Yeah. So I am currently in stage 4 kidney disease, and my kidneys are very close to failing.
Okay. So did you hear that? Stage 4. And she's sitting here and she's smiling. She loves to worship God, and she said yes to God. And every Sunday you will find her on stage worshiping, leading us into worship. So sorry, I want to make sure that they get that part.
Yeah, you're good. So when Pastor Lucy and I were talking about this before, it almost touched me, I think, in the same way that it touched you when I was saying it as to when you were hearing it. Because I don't have a fear of having this issue with my body, because I know that God's going to take care of it. And it's interesting, I've had some people who've come to me and who've said, well, God's the reason you have it in the first place. But I don't look at it like that's a bad thing. Right. I look at that like it's a miracle, because I get to have the opportunity to experience something so incredibly difficult, and to be able to share getting through that with other people, to show people that, like, listen, difficulties absolutely will come, and you can share that and be excited in that. So I've actually been dealing with this since I was 18. So it's been 12, 13 years that I've been going through knowing that I've had this kidney disease. And it's finally gotten to a point where my kidney function is so low that I'm eligible to get a kidney transplant. And I think it's really exciting because my whole lifestyle has been adjusted. I've had to eat different. I've had to sleep different. I've had to walk different, and just because of, I have a different exposure, a different sensitivity than most people do. and the opportunity to be able to revamp my body with, a gift that God really has given, because he created medicine. So the opportunity to be able to be physically renewed, I'm super excited about it. Yeah. I think it's great.
So even right now, isn't this a miracle? Because when you are a stage 4 kidney disease, you shouldn't be able to do the things that you're doing right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most people, so I currently have 14% kidney function, which is, it's a low number.
Right.
But most people, even with 20% or 25%, they can't get out of bed. Because they're just so exhausted, because their body is so worn down, and they're not able to walk or move,
right.
and just are, or they can only be awake for a few hours because their body is so drained. And honestly, I thank God for that every day, because I don't know how. I'm not doing it. I'm not for sure not doing it.
Right.
And I think that's another reason why I just glorify him and give him praise, because I'm able to continue to walk upright and be healthy. It's funny because I don't feel unhealthy. I have a chronic condition, but I don't feel sick.
Right. And you don't look sick. You don't act sick. Right. If anything, we just know that you have the glory of the Lord all, around you. And if you're a worshiper, God's anointing is over your life right now. So just to hear that, ladies, her mindset and where she's at right now is because of God. It's because of her yes to God. It's because she said, God, I trust you. And your faith is so big. And I love when you said, I'm not even scared about this, because you're going to be able to experience the opportunity to see the miracle taking place.
Yeah.
This is already a miracle. There's another bigger miracle and breakthrough that, that's going to happen. And you get to be the recipient and the voice to be able to share it as well. So I love that. And I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to share that, but there's a reason behind it. And I know I think it was in January, you posted on Facebook that there was an update. And so there might be a match for you out there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not really allowed to know about the back end stuff that happens, but I am on the transplant list at Tampa General, on the UNOS organ transplant list. And I am waiting for my person that's going to donate their kidney. So there's two options. Being on the transplant list means that I'm in line to get a deceased organ, which obviously, if something happens to a person and they're an organ donor, then the next person that's on the list would receive an organ from them. But the unfortunate part is, because that person has already passed, some damage happens to the organ. So the organ's only going to last about 10 years. Okay. And me being in my very early 30s, getting a kidney that only lasts 10 years is kind of a scary thing. So the living donor option is if someone physically, willingly donates one of their kidneys, then I will be able to have that kidney for 30 years or more. That's 30 years is the average. So that's, you never know what it actually will turn out to be. But the opportunity to be able to have that and not have to worry about going through this in another 10 years is incredible. So I'm waiting to find out. I've put it out there for a lot of people to see if they were willing. It's completely anonymous, so I don't even know. I've had some friends be like, hey, I put my name in the hat to see if I would be an eligible donor, but it is completely anonymous, and I will never know until the day that they get someone that's completely approved and says, hey, we have a kidney for you.
Yeah. So is there a link for them to go to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to make sure that we put that in the comment section so that you'll have it. Is there anything you want to add to that? Was there?
No. I think that's good.
So, ladies, I need you to share this. I want you to share this with as many friends, family, as possible. We know at the end of the day, God's going to show up one way or another, whether it's unfortunately through a deceased person or a live person. And either way,
Or a miracle.
Right.
We can wait for that too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But we're praying and we're believing, and we want you guys to pray with us too for this miracle and breakthrough. So this is her waiting season right now. That is what she is waiting for. And we're going to wait with you, and we're going to cheer you on and support you all along the way as well, to let you know that you're not alone, in this journey. So again, ladies, this is why. To hear this story, I only knew about the kidney part, and I didn't know the rest of your story. But to me, that spoke volumes. That spoke volumes. The faith that you have, the courage that you have, the willingness to share your voice, and basically your mindset. Right. Your mindset to know, like, God is God, right? He sits on the throne, and you trust him above all else, even above what doctors tell you. Yeah. Right. And so for me, that spoke huge volumes. I admire you for that. I appreciate you. I thank you, right, for sharing and just being vulnerable, with us as well. And I hope that this really has encouraged someone out there. Again, like I said, you might be going through something, and it doesn't have to be the same exact thing, but we have to remember, each and every one of us, we have our struggles, we have our challenges, we have our problems. We weren't meant to do life alone. We were not meant to do this life alone. And so we're not alone. We have each other, and we can support each other. We can lift each other up, and we can help each other in the process. And what a beautiful thing for you, when you talked about the one message was from God was, being able to use your voice. Right. And that's what this podcast is about. Yeah. Chosen voices, right? Using our voices to share our part of our story and how we're making waves. And this is how Z is making waves right now. The impact. She probably doesn't realize the impact when she's up on that stage, right? And again, we look at people without realizing what's happening behind the scenes. And you know what? Sometimes it's not even important. It's just important enough to know, like, we're in this together, and God has, got us. So as we're wrapping up our podcast, episode 7 here, I wanted to know, do you have any last closing words? Like if there was one thing that you can share, because there's someone else at the end of the screen, be it, a young girl, young adult, woman, regardless of the age or the status or your role, wherever you're at right now, what is one message that you'd like to share with them?
I feel like right now in this moment, I'm led to say, you are strong. Like, I feel like a lot of people look at me and they hear my story and they think, oh, wow, she's strong. Like, she can handle that. She can do that because she's strong. And they think of themselves and they're like, but I'm not that strong. And I think the exact same way. I have the same mindset where I can look at someone else and think, wow, she's really strong, but I'm not. Like, I don't have that strength. But you really do. It is absolutely something that lives within all of us, but we almost project. We look at other people and we say, oh, well, their problems are worse. So being able to get through whatever they're dealing with, they have to be really strong. But you're really strong too for getting through everything that you've been through. I mean, Everyone has their own story, and your ability to just continue to persevere and be here every day and doing everything that you have to do to take care of you, to take care of your family, whatever it looks like. I feel like every woman is strong in their own way.
Yes, you heard it. You heard it from Z today. You are strong. And so, ladies, I want to thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share this with someone. Pray for Z and pray for her miracle in this waiting season that she's in right now. As I shared earlier, like, this is about making sure that we are encouraging anyone who may be discouraged right now. I'm hoping that through our podcast that we do, that someone, maybe your passion will be stirred up, maybe creativity will be stirred up, maybe your purpose will be aroused through this. So there's purpose behind this as well. And the messages and the voices, there's going to be so many different ladies, different stories, different backgrounds, but it's all meant to realize that we're in this together and we can make waves. You don't have to have a special title. You don't have to have a special position. We can all make waves doing what God has called us to do. So as we leave here today, ladies, embrace where God has you right now. Embrace this season right now and go and make some waves. Thank you for tuning in to Chosen Voices, Women Making Waves. This show will be available on our YouTube channel, Crossover Chosen. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share. You can also check out @Chosen813 on Facebook and Instagram. And to connect with me, your host, Lucy Colonen, check out my website, lucyk.me, or my social media platforms @LucyK813. We hope you enjoy the show. Now go make some waves.